Last time, we saw our protagonist Juno Kim, the top-ranked hunter in the world, get ambushed and killed by an unknown force, activating his skill Karma, sending him to a world 10 years in the past as a dungeon cleaner. Forced to work with the cleaning team to reach his objectives and regain his strength, he comes to realize the struggles of a cleaner, and on their last job notices something concerning about wounds his former subordinate Minju Kim inflicted on the boss monster. Ragged and tired from the past few days of hellish work, the cleaning team await the overdue conquest of a dungeon, with Han telling So-yeon to take it easy seeing her ghostly state. Finally, the hunters exit the dungeon after keeping them waiting a whole hour. Juno finding himself face to face with Minju Kim once again. Seeing her walk off grabbing her shoulder, he is reminded of the past when he met her in the hospital, chiding her ineptitude for failing to look after herself properly before telling her to retire. To which she argues back, saying he knows why she can't quit, retorting his accusations of not speaking up as she told him several times, but he brushed her off, saying she's not the only one in pain. They get into a heated argument, with him triggered that she blames him and her betrayed by his hypocrisy and callousness as the team leader, ending with Juno declaring his hate for her and her snarky attitude, and Minju bawling her eyes out as she unloads her pent-up feelings about his treatment of her and their teammates, slapping him across the face, calling him a son of a bitch. Now, Juno thinks he may have been a bit harsh and dismissive, and that she would have been a great hunter if not for her injury. Bothered by this, he calls out to her and awkwardly gives her some advice to strengthen her grip, leaving Minju stunned at this random cleaner. He goes into greater detail about the drawbacks of her technique and how to fix it, but she gives another unenthused response and he stomps off into the gate, telling her to get a checkup. At the doctor's, Minju Kim is informed of her luck for catching on to her inflamed shoulder early, with the doctor noting that she needs to improve her posture and grip strength. Minju thinking back on the words of the creepy cleaner. With the light fading, the cleaning team finished the day's work, Juno completely drained, only to find Minju Kim waiting for him. The others gossip about their relationship and give them some space. Now alone, she raises her sword to his neck with a fierce glare, which greatly triggers the now blood-boiled Juno. She then presses him on his knowledge of her shoulder, and he tries to play it off as a prank on a hunter with some info he saw online. But she doesn't buy it, bringing up the fact her techniques are confidential and he knew it in too much detail. Searching his mind for an out, he decides to tell her about the sword marks on the boss monster and how he could decipher her weaknesses from them. Satisfied with his answer, she withdraws her blade, with Juno thinking such advice was easy for him to give despite not being a swordsman because he was the first all-class hunter ever. No longer wary, Minju beams at Juno, grasping his shoulder, declaring he must be a freelance hunter. Before he can speak, she continues, saying he must be one of those A-rank hidden masters or a high-rank member from the civilian guild. But Juno retorts, simply saying, "Can't you tell I'm a cleaner?" Walking off, he thinks she must have planned to profit off him, but he's just a cleaner right now. However, she instead thanks him and coyly asks for a favor. The next day at the association, Minju Kim asks her boss Soo-young Lee, head of the strategy and operation team 1, for some time off to train with a cleaner. He argues against it, asking if this is the same cleaner that told her to get a checkup, shocking her at his intel gathering. He continues to argue against it, but caves in the end, telling her to just come back in time for the large-scale conquest in a couple of weeks. With Minju gone, Soo-young shows his annoyance, thinking of this ridiculous news spreading to Team 2's leader, deciding to make a call to the general manager with something to tell him. Several days pass and we find Juno happily singing songs whilst cleaning a dungeon, having unlocked the skill 1 counter, with the condition interest from the association on the dungeon team being met. Breaking his focus, Park questions Juno on the presence of Minju Kim, Juno replying that with Hui Jiang's absence he thought they could use the extra hands, but Park is nervous of the association's reaction to a hunter cleaning. Juno wasn't very keen himself, thinking back to her pleading for his teachings, even calling him master. He tried to dissuade her by saying he'll think about it if she helps clean, but to his surprise, she gladly accepted. In the dungeon, she asks her master for help, to his annoyance at this new title. Juno explains the process of cleaning the blood and flesh and how to most efficiently do so, leaving the area spotless. Seeing his expertise, Park praises his growth, and the two laugh before Junoo realizes just how far he's fallen to be proud of being a cleaner. Having finished her area, Minju asks her master for more work, and Soyeon steps up, telling her to come with her. The two heading into another room with Sang-hyuk and Junoo, betting that the hunter will come out on top. Inside the room, Soyeon is too nervous to talk to her, despite being the one to bring her here. Then, Minju asks Soyeon if she is exhausted, seeing her weariness. With the ice broken, the two start talking, and Minju reveals that her father was once a B-rank hunter, but like her, in reality, he sustained a shoulder injury after having his worries dismissed and was tossed aside, deemed useless. Minju explaining to Soyeon that that's what the association is really like. Rank and strength above all. Following a silence, Minju questions Soyeon's feelings for her master, leaving the exposed girl blushing in embarrassment, going on to tell her not to worry as she has no feelings for him and that she came to get stronger so she can't be looked down on and needs his help to do so, relieving Soyeon that she is not his ex after all. They return to the team, laughing together, confusing Junoo at their closeness. About to enter the boss room, Park asks if Soyeon is okay, with her responding that her suit feels off and she can't breathe well through the respirator either, but she brushes it off. Moving on, they enter the boss room, finding the remains of Maximum Slime, a deadly poisonous monster that gives off a stench that leads to intoxication. Hard at work, Park checks the team when an unresponsive Soyeon collapses. Seeing her pale and shaking state, Junoo thinks it will take too long for an antidote to arrive and she'll soon die. With no options and time left, he asks Minju to draw a sword, but she is unwilling to cut Soyeon, pleading for another way. Junoo replies that he wants her to cut him, not her, and she concedes, summoning her blade and unleashing a skill upon him, pissing him off at her hastiness. With combat mode activated from the strike, he disappears in a flash, racing out of the room to reach the support team with his hyper boost skill activated. At the hospital, they admonish a recovered Soyeon for not informing them she wasn't feeling well, with Sang-hyuk pissed at their worn out gear, mentioning how hunters get a seasonal upgrade to their gear, before quietening down, remembering Minju's presence. Junoo leaves, saying he's going for a walk, smirking as he leaves the hospital, thinking of how to use this event to get a budget expansion for the cleaning team to unlock his Hellfire skill. Back in the room, the others talk about Junoo and the strangeness of such a knowledgeable and skilled cleaner, with Park asking if he could join the strategy and operation team, but Minju thinks her master is someone more skilled than herself, so he must have chosen the cleaning team for a reason. Minju guessing that her master is a noble person who chose the camaraderie of the cleaning team over getting involved in the corporate ladder, earning him the admiration and love of the cleaning team, as they jump to the conclusion that he must have gone to the association over Soyeon's matters. In the office of the general manager, Junoo stares down Min Chul-seo, the head of the Korea Association Seoul headquarters. After he took his post last year, his followers parachuted up the ranks, and they now hold great influence over the association. He tries to palm off Junoo's request for a budget raise, but Junoo pushes back, claiming, "Why waste time on the minions when you can go straight for the boss?" Minju expresses his annoyance at a mere cleaning team member asking him for a budget raise, but Junoo stands firm. Cutting off the manager's chatter, Junoo brings up the recent accident and the faulty equipment that caused it. Minju tries to blow it off again, saying they don't have the funds, but Junoo retorts with a smirk, outlining the size and handling of the budget, leaning forward to tell him to spare it to those that really need it. Stunned, Minju asks, "Who are you?" But Junoo just replies, "I told you, I'm a cleaner." Pushing further, he insinuates the trouble that could be caused if word of their poor treatment got out, and Minju caves under the pressure. Junoo leaves the size of the increase in budget to him, seeing as he only needs it to increase to unlock his skill. But before he can leave the room, the general manager brings up Hunter Minju Kim, giving Junoo pause before slamming the door on his way out. With Junoo gone, Min-chul calls Soo-young, unloading his concerns of the strange cleaner, sure that he's not really a cleaner. Hearing this, Soo-young smiles menacingly, declaring, "We've got to show them who the boss is." The next day, the cleaning team is met with a note of disciplinary action against Soyeon for violation of the prohibition of side jobs, blaming her fatigue from multiple jobs for the accident. Junoo expresses his annoyance and Soyeon tells him not to worry, as it's just a warning and she never really expected the claim to go through, since this is how cleaners are always treated. But Junoo was actually worried about unlocking his skill. The others all praised Junoo for his actions in facing the general manager, showing him admiration, leaving Junoo's head spinning at their interpretation of what happened. The others head into the gate, but Minju mentions to him that this overreaction may be her fault, since her boss wasn't very happy about her coming here, and hearing the name of her boss, Junwoo realizes what happened, as Soo-young Lee was known for his infamous power trips, suddenly saying he's taking the day off. In the heart of Seoul, a purple gate appears, sending the surrounding villains running in panic, as Junwoo alone smiles upon the gate, ready to show off his skills. Inside, Junwoo effortlessly slashes through a bunch of orcish monsters with a burst from his skill Hyper Boost. Dungeon Interception, to secretly subjugate a dungeon without the association's permission before hunters can clear it. Typically done by freelance hunters chasing money, it is an uncommon occurrence due to the risk, time restraint, and lack of info, but these are of no worry to Junwoo. In a new room, Junwoo leisurely approaches the fourth boss, a massive robotic giant. Junwoo uses his speed to evade the monster's strikes, running up its arm and leaping into the air. He then launches his shovel, shrouded in an electric aura, at the giant's hand, holding it before activating his skill, One Counter, that increases critical hit damage 3000% and strikes it in the head, resulting in a massive explosion. With the boss defeated, Junwoo lists off the 4 dungeons he subjugated today, but they won't be much profit seeing as they were low-level dungeons. Leaving the dungeon, he found some association vehicles in the vicinity, probably in a state of emergency after getting run around by an unknown hunter. Returning from his 2-day leave, Junwoo finds Soo-young at the gate, claiming to be on a field trip, showing his public facade with a beaming smile, claiming they need camaraderie with other teams, clearly suspecting Junwoo as the culprit of the dungeon interceptions. Inside, the cleaning team is hard at work, working together to efficiently complete the job, while Soo-young watches over them, thinking they're pretending to be busy. Throwing some bait, he asks Minju if she heard about the recent dungeon interceptions, adding that there will be a reward for their capture and the cleaning team could be reassigned to another team if they catch the interceptor, telling them to report anyone suspicious, such as someone who just took 2 days off. But Park ignores Soo-young's words, instead asking Junwoo how his injuries are, with the rest of them backing up Park's story, leaving Junwoo confused as to why they would give up rewards to protect him, and Minju beaming at his teammates' loyalty to her master. Back in his office, Soo-young calls the general manager, certain that the cleaner is the interceptor, but his boss tells him to lay off, as he thinks that the cleaner is beyond out of the ordinary, before claiming his identity to be something that leaves Soo-young stunned with a cold sweat. His boss goes on to explain that an anonymous donation was made to the cleaning team that is about the estimated profit of the recent interceptions. Soo-young takes this as clear evidence of the cleaner's guilt, but his boss says that's exactly the problem, and there are too many things that are off. Certain that he is actually an insider from the association, perhaps even under the chairman himself, since the chairman doesn't approve of him, reinforcing that Soo-young needs to back off. The next day, the cleaning team arrive to work, finding a stack of boxes and a note declaring the removal of disciplinary action and 200 million won in budget, startling Junwoo as this is 10 times the amount he donated. Additionally, the note apologizes to Soo-young and offers 100 million won in compensation for her occupational injury. Looking at the massive boxes, Park comments on the struggle they'll have moving them to the office, surprising Junwoo, who didn't know they had one, and Minju says that she and Junwoo will handle it, forcing him to join her. With the requirements met, a system alert appears, with Junwoo acquiring the skill Hellfire, Junwoo smirking at his impending departure from this team. Moving the boxes, Minju confronts him about the interceptions and donation, revealing that everyone probably knows that it's him, as his talent is unconcealable and they'll keep an eye on him, putting his spot in the cleaning team at risk. Junwoo beams at the possibility of leaving the team even earlier, only for Minju to declare that once she reaches a higher rank, she'll help him stay in the cleaning team, inciting Junwoo's rage at her conflicting intentions. Time passes peacefully, but this abruptly comes to an end when the cleaning team enters a vandalized dungeon with insults at the cleaners lining the walls, painted in monster blood, and the monster carcasses deliberately scattered to the furthest corners of the dungeon. Seeing this, Soo-young is stunned and Sang-hyuk is outraged, but Junwoo tells them to ignore it and it should stop. However, even after 4 days, these same antics continue. Beaten down by the constant harassment, the cleaning team is starting to crack. Despite Park going to see them multiple times, they just laugh him off, asking for proof. But after all this time, Junwoo has snapped, and he tells them he'll go himself. Storming into the association, Junwoo shoves some hunters out of his way, thinking back on the event that caused all this to begin with. A few days back, a couple of irritable hunters exited a gate, barging past Soyeon and Sang-hyuk, insulting them for messing with their team's budget. But seeing this behavior, Minju, as the team leader, confronted them, calling them less than human before comforting Soyeon and Sang-hyuk, with the two hunters resentfully looking back on them. You see, Minju returned to the strategy and operations team because Junwoo told her to, with him finally deciding to help her, with his plan being to train her into the greatest hero, using her to negotiate with the association, thinking even in this life, she is nothing more than a disposable to him, with all of their troubles starting after she left the team. In an office within the association, the two hunters who incited these events revel in their revenge, when suddenly one of them gets clapped in the face by Junwoo's punch. He then faces the other, who activates a skill, but before he can act, Junwoo slaps him and his summon to the ground. Junwoo approaches the conscious hunter, telling him that he'll expose their actions to the public, and the association won't do a thing to cover for them since they're measly E-rankers, saying that if they don't come and apologize to the cleaning team in person, things will get even worse, pressing him further when he tries to argue back. Hearing the commotion, Soo-young enters the room, but seeing Junwoo, he bows and politely greets him, addressing him as Mr. Kim, confusing Junwoo at his change in attitude. Junwoo goes on to explain the situation, and one of the hunters jumps to Soo-young's side, lying to swing the situation in their favor. However, he's instead met with a slap from his raging boss, who quickly launches into an apology, Junwoo turning to leave after adding that he never wants to see those guys around again. After that, things return to normal, but unsure of Soo-young's sudden change, he consults Minju, with her revealing she's uncertain, but those two hunters did get fired, stunning Junwoo that his words held such weight with Soo-young. The next day at the gate, Junwoo and the cleaning team are stunned at the guard of hunters lining the entrance, giving thanks for their hard work. Inside the dungeon, Soo-young worries for the consequences Junwoo may face for siding with them, to his confusion as he blandly states they won't act, at least for now, which brightens her face. Sang-hyuk then questions how Junwoo got all this to pass, asking if he's actually a big shot that even the higher-ups stand no chance against. But this only gets a laugh out of Junwoo, who tells him to stop his nonsense. At the association, Soo-young sits behind his desk with a worn-out expression when the leader of Team 2, Dongbin Lim, intrudes, poking fun at Soo-young for having to suck up to the cleaning team since he didn't earn his position on his own like he did, triggering Soo-young at his pointed words. But leaning closer, Dongbin offers to handle the cleaner for him, saying he'll deal with the cleaner in return for the large-scale conquest he has planned. A multi-zone dungeon that opens up further with the defeat of each boss, requiring months of preparation and planning. Soo-young is outraged at such an exorbitant demand, knowing that Dongbin is someone who climbed the ranks by intercepting the credit for others' conquests, but with no other options to be rid of the cleaner, he concedes, accepting the deal, with Dongbin even pushing further, asking for Soo-young to lend him his rising star, Minju Kim, Soo-young conceding once more. On the bus home, Junwoo looks over the skill unlock requirements through the system, thinking that now some of them even seem quite doable, like increasing public interest in the cleaning team, or a joint operation with another team, considering how docile the strategy and operations team has been lately. He gets a call from Minju, with her informing him that she was named as the leader of the large conquest taking place, with him congratulating her for her skyrocketing stock. However, the reason she called was actually because they want the cleaning team on the conquest, startling Junwoo at the news. Inside a meeting room at the association, the hunters glare and gossip over Junwoo and the cleaning team, who sit on the side, Park trembling from nerves at this strange occurrence. Junwoo notices that these hunters aren't from Team 1, and Minju fills him in on the change, with him wondering why Soo-young would give up a substantial project, but Minju doesn't know either. With a wham, Dongbin makes his entrance and introduces himself as the one in charge of this project. Watching on, Junwoo begins to tilt, thinking back on his rookie hunter days when Dongbin would steal the credit for his performances. Clenching his teeth, he tells Minju to stay away from that guy, and Dongbin starts the briefing, explaining that since this dungeon is expected to last 24 hours, the monster corpses will start decomposing and release gases, which could interfere with conquest. Dongbin turning to the cleaners, saying this is why they are here. The cleaning team have no reason not to accept the offer, as they can get a bonus and get working right after the conquest. Despite all this, Junwoo speaks up and declines the offer, refusing to help that asshole's performance. After the meeting, the cleaning team and Minju discuss why Junwoo turned down the offer, with Park saying he thinks he's looking out for us. Minju agreeing, adding that it is indeed a very dangerous operation, resulting in them once again touched at Junwoo's kind intentions, deciding they won't participate, and Minju follows suit saying she won't either, as the operation seems off, and most of all, her master advised against it. In Dongbin's office, Soo-young now pokes fun at him following the cleaning team and Minju's refusal, and unable to swallow his pride, he tells Soo-young to give him access to his connections so he can get the required personnel list and force them to take part. In front of the gate for the large conquest, Junwoo tells the quivering Minju to liven up, tapping her on the back, encouraging her and giving advice. He tells her to focus solely on the subjugation once inside, but she asks him to keep his radio on just in case, saying only to call if she's on the verge of death. Dongbin and his team approach Minju, noting her being with the cleaning team, before giving pleasantries. Watching this exchange from afar, Soyeon expresses her surprise at Dongbin's presence, and Junwoo explains that typically a team leader would take the lead if they came, but sometimes they appoint a competent hunter to lead instead. Then, thinking to himself that Dongbin has only ever planned conquest though, piggybacking on every conquest. With everything prepared, Minju gives one last briefing, finishing it off by saying in the case of an emergency, they should call for the cleaning team, stunning everyone in Team 2. Moving past that, she unsheathes her sword and begins the operation, with the cleaning team following at the back. Inside, the cleaning team is hard at work, dismantling corpses and cleaning the surroundings, unable to let any corpses decompose till the conquest is over. Park reminds them yet again to vacuum pack them separately and embalm them. After all, such a great number of monsters would usually be incinerated on the spot, but they can't, since the conquest is still ongoing. Already showing signs of exhaustion from the additional work, Soyeon offers some chocolate bars to the others, and despite typically not liking to be interrupted during work, Junwoo asks for the strawberry one and nibbles away at the bar. Now recharged, they get back to work, but 8 hours later, the cleaning team was struggling whilst the operation team effortlessly plowed on. 10 hours on, they were beginning to burn out, and in the 15th hour, Sang-hyuk injured his hand, dozing off. The cleaning team falling drastically behind the subjugation squad from their weariness. In the 18th hour, they received a call from the front asking about the rising gas levels, and after Park and our hunter have a back and forth over the situation, Junwoo takes the radio and says they need a break and the subjugation should be put on hold, but they refuse. He instead asks for some hunters to come back and help, but they refuse again, saying why should hunters clean? Reaching the edge of his patience, he demands for Minju to be put on. At the front, Dongbin, surrounded by his hunters, belittles the approaching cleaner. Right in his face, Junwoo asks where Minju is, but he says it's none of his business, going on to make a big show of the cleaning team's ineptitude, saying looks like we'll have to call off the bonus. He continues to threaten Junwoo, but Junwoo just laughs, realizing this is what he wanted all along. They argue back and forth, disparaging each other, before Junwoo says that the cleaning team will be backing out, asking what now? Dongbin finally calls Minju, who is in the midst of a boss battle, and tells her the cleaning team has abandoned the operation and to hand leadership to him, as this is too much for a rookie hunter. But hearing her master's jeers, she asks for his confirmation, and Junwoo replies saying, "Don't you feel like you're on the verge of death by now?" Giving her pause as she thinks for a moment. But with a short fuse, the impatient Dongbin yells at her again to hand over authority, belittling her in the process, and with a dead expression, Minju passes it over to his delight. But then she adds, the cleaner Junwoo Kim, stunning all of Team 2. Junwoo announces he's taking command of this operation, and Dongbin bursts out in laughter and confronts Junwoo, refusing to give him authority over his team. But as authority means everything in a dungeon, Junwoo, now the leader of the operation, tells him to sit back and watch, eliminating him from the operation, the harshest punishment possible. With that handled, he takes the radio and lays out the situation, then giving orders for Team B and C to go help with the cleaning. But after they show resistance to the idea, he immediately eliminates them from the operation as well. Breezing past that, he calls Team A, telling Minju that he let some people go, so she'll have to make do. In Zone 11, Team A is facing off against a menacing bear monster that is immune to attack for 10 minutes after the first blow, and as such, Juno instructs Minju how to handle it with her team. Following his words, Minju orders her team to execute the instructions, with her tank rushing forward to block, buffed by a support hunter, followed up by Minju rushing in with a powerful counter strike, activating her skill 1 counter, slashing through the beast's side with a flash of blue lightning, reporting back that they cleared Zone 11. Juno then declares they will clear the rest of the dungeon in 50 minutes, and we see Team A clear zone after zone as they execute Juno's detailed instructions of how to beat the enemies of each stage. Pushed to their limits, the Team A hunters eventually run out of stamina, unable to carry out his instructions, so Juno tells them to hang in there as he heads to the front, where Minju is facing off against a golem type monster who is quite fast despite its size. Caught off guard, it uses its speed to strike down, crushing her into the floor. Minju, opening her eyes to the outstretched hand of Juno, goes to reach for it, but he asks for a sword instead. Sword in hand, Juno stares down the giant ogre log, surprised to find a red level monster here. He then unlocks his skill over immersion, with its requirement to initiate a joint operation with another department fulfilled. The skill significantly boosts the effectiveness of skills used by the caster during battle. He then effortlessly smashes through a punch from the giant, rushing in to avoid another strike, then activating both Hellfire and 1 counter, stacking his skills to deliver a flaming strike, resulting in a massive explosion. Watching on, the astonished Team A question how this man could be a cleaner, but Minju, enamored by the strength of her master, tells them to keep his abilities a secret, as he is not one who cares for things like wealth, honor, and power. Meanwhile, Juno emerges annoyed and covered in blood, triggering his passive OCD skill. If you enjoyed the vid, like, sub, and comment below. Peace.